Hey everybody, Hipster Username here with another exciting release of InvokeAI version 2.2. Let's get started. It's time to demonstrate the InvokeAI 2.2 Unified Canvas. It's safe to say that we're super excited about the Unified Canvas. We think this is going to unlock a lot of creative potential for creators in the Invoke ecosystem, and frankly, it's just a whole lot of fun to use. There is also a lot jam-packed into this one feature. You'll notice that the in-painting tab is no longer available. All of that has been merged into the unified canvas. It can do text to image to image, in painting, and out painting, all within a single composition. Because this is a release announcement video and not a tutorial, I won't go through every single feature in the unified canvas. But keep your eyes tuned for a deep dive on the unified canvas shortly after the release, where we'll go through advanced tips and tricks on how you can use each and every single feature available to you in the new tool. Let's go ahead and get started with a new text to image generation. I'll go ahead and paste in my prompt and invoke. You'll notice I have a new toolbar at the bottom that allows me to see each of the 4 images that I generated. This is because each time we generate something, we have the option to review and choose which of the generations we actually want to save to the base layer of the canvas. So let's take a look at what we generated. Now, of these images, there's some, interesting compositions in them. But I actually really love the colors of this image here with the mountains. It doesn't really capture my prompt, but it is interesting, and I think it's probably worth playing around with. So we'll go ahead and save. Now, you'll notice that I'm on what's called the base layer of the image. That's going to be where all of my images are, and that's where I just saved that last indication to. I committed that to the base layer of the image. And now if I move around my bounding box, if I interact with this at all, I'm interacting over that saved base layer. When our bounding box is over a transparent area of the canvas, it's going to be generating a new text to image. When it's over an existing image, it'll do image to image. And that's what I want to do with this one. I just want to see if I can get some more of that mountain village in this picture. But before I do, what I want to go ahead and add is using my brush tool, I want to draw a little bit of that mountain village I was hoping to see. I'm going to go ahead and use the color picker and see if I can get some complementary colors here, maybe this kind of brown. And I'll just do some quick, sketches of some structures that I might want to see. So we've got a building there, a building here, and maybe I will add a little bit of red as well. So we'll pick our brush options, we'll pick in some red. I like just adding in some elements like this that give it some character, and we'll see what it comes up with. Because this is doing image to image, and because I've obviously got a little bit of a Microsoft Paint level quality brush base in here, we'll keep our image to image strength high. 0.75 will be a good choice for us here. And we'll go ahead and invoke. So now I've got 4 completely new images. Obviously, because my strength was a little high, this is going to be compositionally different than what I originally had, but a lot of the same colors. And, most of that composition is going to be there. So this one's kind of got this ski lodge look. This has a lot of really cool architecture. I like this one a lot. This one seems pretty nice as well. But we'll go ahead and stick with this one because I think this actually looks really, really cool. So we'll accept and save that one. So now I'm going to use my move tool and we'll move around. Something you'll notice is that each of the tools that I'm using do have hotkeys. So I can switch brush, eraser, color picker just by using the letter key next to each tool. So B, E, C as an example there. Hit V and use to our move tool, and we'll use our bounding box and move to the right. Now you'll notice in the canvas that I can move the bounding box outside of the image area I've already started. What this is going to allow me to do is generate a completely separate image. I can run text to image as many times as I want if I'm over transparent areas. And if I wanted to, I could zoom out and do it 100 times and see them all in one large grid. But in this case, I'm going to challenge myself to figure out how I can get two completely separate images to make sense together using the canvas. So I'm going to generate using the exact same prompt. Maybe I'll add one thing here. I want to see a little bit more forest, just to have some more diversity in the prompt and hopefully give me something good. But I'll generate 4 new images and we'll see what we get. So we got a new set of 4 images. I'm a little bit scared to see what we have because it's probably going to be pretty hard to make this work, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, so these are going to be pretty difficult to work with. This one probably has maybe my best chance of making sense, given that the trees have a little bit of a highlight on the left. There's mountains. I think I can make this work. So we'll go ahead and accept this one. And now what I'm going to do is move my bounding box to this section in the middle that has this large open area. Now I had some brush strokes from earlier that I'll need to mask out, but the rest of this will be filled in using outpainting. So anytime the bounding box is over an area that has an image, as well as an area that has transparency or open canvas, outpainting is going to be our generation method. And in this case, even though I have 2 separate images in this kind of middle mask area or this middle empty spot, I can still use outpainting to generate. I mentioned that I had a little bit of my brush stroke that bled out of the image earlier and is now living on that base layer. So if I generated right now, it would fill in this transparent area, but assume that I meant to keep this brush base here, and I do not want to keep that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to my mask layer. You'll notice the tool selector up here for the layer allows us to pick between base and mask. When I switch to my mask layer, the brush tool will become a mask brush. And that'll allow me to select this brush area here. Using our new mask visualization, we can see the area that we have selected. I'm going to allow it to maybe regenerate a little bit of this mountain village as well. This will take any of this brush base that I have here and just handle that during the outpainting process. So we'll go ahead and invoke and see what we get. Now we can take a look at our new outpainting results and see what Stable Diffusion gave us. I think this one's probably the best of the bunch. These 2 towards the end here look pretty clean, but I like this one the most. It seems the closest to what we were going for. What I also like about this is it does seem to fit. So I'll go ahead and use the Shift-C command to clear my mask. Again, this is just a quick way of using the canvas. And we'll go ahead and move our bounding box to address some of these trees over to the right. Now, one thing that we can do in Invoke 2.2 is switch models relatively quickly from the top right selector. Any of the models that you have imported will be displayed here, and switching is as simple as selecting the model from a dropdown. We'll switch to the in-painting model, and we'll mask some of the areas of this image in order to regenerate some of these branches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the left side of these pine trees and maybe a little bit of the mountain. Sunset in a mountain forest. I'm hopeful that this will give me some options for better color on these pine tree branches, but we'll see. So we'll take a look at these 4 sets. I think they did a relatively good job of giving us some options here. I think that I like this one the best. Let's just take a peek through. So we'll go ahead and commit that one to the base layer. I'll clear my mask again, and I'm going to go back to the Stable Diffusion model. And what we'll do now is we'll focus on these incredibly small blobs that are unclear and unspecific. Now, one of the things that you may have noticed if you've used inpainting in the past is that inpainting is great at regenerating large portions of an image, but if you're really trying to get small, fine-tuned details, it can be a little bit difficult to get it to do what you want to. And what we're going to showcase today is one of the new features in the Invoke Canvas, our scale before processing feature, which is set to automatic by default. What scale before processing does is very similar to what the high res fix does for larger images. In this case, if we select a smaller than 512 by 512 bounding box, Invoke will generate a 512 by 512 image in order to keep composition and detail, and then resize that into the bounding box, maintaining as much of that detail as possible. What that allows us to do is focus on those small areas we couldn't really get to in the past with inpainting and do really fine-tuned work in our composition. So we'll zoom in, take our brush tool, and mask these hideous blobs that existed in our image before. Now, we need to figure out what we want to see here. Maybe I'll give it a little bit of space to work, but I don't think it would be strange to see 2 deer in a winter valley, and we'll go ahead and invoke. We have our set of 4 images here, and given these options, I like this one the best. It looks like it fits the images the most. It even has a really nice shadow effect on this deer. So we'll keep that and go ahead and zoom out and take a look at our final composition. Overall, it turned out really nice, and I'm happy with the results. And this is just scratching the surface of what this new tool is capable of. Again, we'll do a follow-on video that goes into great detail about each and every option that's available. But for now, your takeaway is this. You're going to want to try this. It's really fun. The last thing I'll call out before we leave the canvas is the new infill method option. This is something I didn't talk about while we were generating, but you can clearly see the results of it. Support for the patch match infill method has been added in Invoke 2.2, and in most installations, it'll be there by default. Some installations may need to do some additional work to enable it, but you can always use the older tile method for infills if patch match isn't available for your system. Now that we're done with our composition, we need to instruct the canvas to save our image to the gallery. So we'll go ahead and use the Save to Gallery option. It'll save our full composition directly to the gallery. You can also move the bounding box and just save a portion of the image using one of the canvas settings, save box region only. And when you save that to the gallery, it'll just save what's inside the bounding box. So you've got many different ways of taking your composition, slicing it up, and turning that into images you can use elsewhere. We'll take a look at these images that we saved, and you can see, again, we've got the full composition there, as well as that slice that we cut out as well. Which leads us to our next feature, the image viewer. When we're viewing our images in the text to image tab, we can tap on an image and open up the full viewer. This allows us to move between our images and use some basic utilities like zooms, rotates, and flips to play around with different orientations of the images in our gallery. Another new feature in Invoke 2.2 is the new embedding manager and the ability to support multiple embed files. Whether you're using .bin or .pt files, you can now use multiple terms in a single generation. You can also download embeds directly from the Hugging Face concept library by invoking a term that's not stored on your local computer but matches an existing term in the Hugging Face concept library. Lastly, all embeds that you have, whether you've downloaded them from Hugging Face or trained them on your own, can be stored in and loaded from a single embedding directory. Any files that you put in that directory will load when you start Invoke. Invoke 2.2 also has introduced checkpoint model security. Both checkpoint models and embeds will now be scanned for pickle vulnerabilities before being loaded. If you're not familiar with the term pickle, it's related to the file type that checkpoint models and embeds use. And there are vulnerabilities that can be exploited if you download a model or an embed from an untrusted or malicious source. Pickle scanning is a basic security feature, but you should still be careful. Be mindful of where you're downloading new models from, and do your best to only use those that have been downloaded from a trustworthy source or that you're confident are free of any malware in them. For those of you whose eyes have glazed over at this feature, we'll leave it at a TLDR. Bad pickles will not get through, good pickles will. Lastly, Invoke 2.2 can now be installed using a unified, simple installation. This is one file for Linuxes and Macs, one file for Windows. This new installer has been informed by the feedback that we've gotten from the community. Again, that's one interactive installation process that takes you all the way from start to finish. It's that simple. And just for fun, let's put this thing into overdrive and make something really big. The Invoke team wants to thank everybody who has used our tool, given us feedback, and cheered us on as we've developed what we hope to be one of the most pleasant Stable Diffusion experiences available. Whether you're a professional looking to incorporate AI generation into your workflow, an enthusiast who just wants to get started and have fun, or a developer who's building on top of Stable Diffusion, we encourage you to join our Discord and contribute to the community that is building Invoke. As one final note, Stable Diffusion 2.0 was released literally days before the 2.2 version was cut for release. Stable Diffusion 2.0 support is not in release 2.2, but will be released shortly after in a 2.3 release. We look forward to hearing how you use the new tool, and if you want to be notified when we release the new outpainting deep dive, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you soon.